Another video here on Overwatch, and this one is not going to be a gameplay video but a hero discussion. As you can tell by the title of the video, I believe that Reaper has, since the latest update to Overwatch, has lost his identity. And what do I mean by that? Well, the latest update, as you can see, changed his passive. Instead of him picking up his orbs now and healing himself after a kill, he now just heals for 20% of the damage that he does. Just flat out heals for 20% of the damage he does. And I feel like this is a major, major problem on behalf of the devs, the Overwatch devs, because they essentially stripped Reaper of his identity. And what do I mean by that? Well, Reaper went from a backline disruptor taking out key targets to a tank buster. Now, some of you may say, oh, that's a good thing. Reaper is now doing the one job that everyone says that he's really great at because of his high damage output. Okay, well, good for you, you believe that. But even before the update, Reaper was a pretty good tank buster. It was just a little bit harder for him then. And I've actually had more troubles taking out tanks with Reaper now than I did before. Because before, when I get to the point where I'm taking out a tank, it's either a 1v1 situation, which Reaper will win in the end, or 2, you had already taken out most of the squishy targets that deal the most damage, and you and your team can just wipe out the tanks themselves. Where now you're seen as the tank buster, so your job now is to go after the tanks, take out the tanks, and your team worries about everyone else. Okay, well, the problem here is most of the situations where you're going to come across that, the enemy team's running triple tank, and they're usually running a death ball. So Reaper now needs to get into the center of that death ball and start taking out the tanks, which thus makes Reaper useless because he dies in an instance in that, because even though he can heal himself, he's going to become the priority target because he deals the most damage out of everyone there. So you'd be better off picking Soldier anyway. Okay? So what made Reaper so good before the update is that he could get into your backline, take out a key target, heal himself, Wraith form, get out of there and get to the closest health pack, which, if you planned it right, isn't going to be that far away. And then defend yourself until your team can get in to help you clear out the rest of them. Alright, you're a backline disruptor. Why is it so easy to be a backline disruptor? Well, because of Shadow Step and Wraith form. Shadow Step allows you to travel across the map and get to areas really quickly that you wouldn't normally be able to access. And then, if you get into a tight pinch where you need to get to a health pack, you know a health pack is close by. You got your Wraith form. You can't take any damage while it's activated, and you get a slight speed boost. Hopefully, it's not the situation that they have depicted here, and you actually are able to get to a health pack in that time. Usually when you use it, you're really low on health and you know there's a health pack nearby, so you're using that to get to the health pack. It's simple as that. When you get out of that, you're at a usually more of an advantage, unless you picked up a small health pack and you needed a large one. And you should be able to take out the target that's trying to kill you. Okay. So those are your mobility, which allow you to be a really effective flanker. But now that they've changed his passive, you go from being a flanker to a tank buster, and your kit isn't set up for that. Granted, you have probably some of the most damage dealing weapons in the game, so long as you can get in and up close to your target, plus probably one of the most devastating ultimates in the whole entire game. But the Shadow Step and the Wraith Form, the Wraith Form could help you get out of the Death Ball, but chances are you didn't take out a single target once you got to the point where you needed to use it. So was it really worth diving in there to try and take out the target in the first place? Even after this update, it's still been more of a priority to go after the squishy targets than the tanks. Because once you get rid of the squishy targets, the tanks will be taken out in a snap. Now you're trying to force us to work the other way around, which Reaper is not good at that at all. It just doesn't work. If they have a single tank, then maybe I could see that. Maybe I could see you choosing Reaper just to focus down the tank, maybe try and force them to rage and choose a different hero to try and counter you. Now they don't have a tank, now you're not as needed. But really, it's really backwards now, and it actually is not as effective of an idea as you may think, because you got rid of the tank. What did you do? You got rid of the thing that provides shield, unless it's Roadhog. And even at that, Roadhog got a major nerf, so Roadhog's not as high a priority target anymore. So now Reaper is kind of suffering a problem where he has a purpose that has been assigned to him by his passive, but he doesn't have the utility to fulfill his purpose. Okay, so that's just one aspect of it, alright? Not only that, when they made this change, they didn't even care to update these videos that we get for showing us all the abilities. See, they're still dropping. They still drop the orbs in the videos. They might have changed it on PC. I don't know how. I haven't checked, but as far as I know, they haven't changed the videos at all. I mean, not even the Death Blossom one. You get here, and Tracer dropped an orb, Mercy dropped an orb, and the Zarya dropped an orb. The only thing they updated was they took away any form of video showing you what his passive does. Like I can't choose a video showing me what the passive does. So yeah, it's why would you make a change like that and then not update the videos for the rest of them that it affects? That makes no sense whatsoever. So it's still a part of his identity in these videos. Not only that, another part of his identity, when you take these orbs that are dropped, they are souls of your enemies. So essentially you're taking the souls of your enemies and using them to help heal yourself, basically. And in the bio for Reaper, okay, I'm just gonna read you the bio of the Reaper. All right. So some speak of a black-robed terrorist known only as the Reaper. His identity and motives are a mystery. What is known is that where he appears, death follows. The Reaper is an extremely volatile mercenary, a ruthless and remorseless killer, responsible for terrorist attacks across the world. He has fought in many armed conflicts in the last decades, showing no loyalty to any cause or organization. Survivors have described a black shadow ghosting unscathed through the most hellish battlefields. A few bodies recovered of those he killed are pale, empty husks, drained of life, their cells showing signs of intense degradation. It is possible that he is a byproduct of failed genetic alteration, which forces his cells to simultaneously decay and regenerate at a hyper-accelerated rate. Just that right there. The few bodies recovered of those he killed are pale, empty husks, drained of life, their cells showing signs of intense degradation. By changing the passive from essentially absorbing the soul of those that he has killed to draining their health and healing himself as he damages them, giving him a lifesteal passive, basically, is what it would be in any MOBA game, makes him go from this terrible, brutal force described in just this one sentence from a paragraph of his bio, when he's just taking the souls from the bodies, leaving them lifeless and no signs of extreme, what was it? Showing signs of intense degradation. You'd only expect to see that from someone who has had their soul ripped from their body, never to be seen again. Now he just, every bit of damage he does to you, he gets to heal himself for 20% of that. That doesn't seem like doesn't seem like intense degradation to me. It just seems like him doing damage and then getting like a bloodlust from it, which allows him to survive for longer. Not even a very good bloodlust at that. It just does not seem like they really thought through the identity of Reaper when they decided to make this change. And hopefully, maybe at least one of the devs from Overwatch can watch this video and see my points. Maybe comment what they think below, hopefully. Highly doubt it. Very small channel. But, I would hope that they would at least take the time to watch over this and see what I have to say and think about what I've said here. Reaper is not set up kit-wise to be a tank buster. Part of his identity was in consuming the souls of those he had killed to get the health from them. Part of his identity was being a flanker, choosing key targets and taking them out, moving on to the next one, unseen, unscathed, in, out, done. he can't do that so much with his new passive. Yes, people are finding it easier to destroy tanks now, but Reaper, even though he's a very effective tank buster, should not be prioritizing tanks. He should be prioritizing the ones healing the tanks, the ones that are providing the cover fire for the tanks, the ones that the tanks are trying to help support, basically. And once you get rid of all those, the tanks have nothing to fight for but themselves, which the rest of your team can take them out at that point. Reaper's Reaper's kit from the start was meant to be like that. They kind of, just by changing his passive, just his passive, they made him lose his identity in so many major ways. And not only that, he's become a tank buster when the meta is in a shift where flankers will rule. High mobility rules. The meta is starting to shift so that we're going to see a lot less tanks, which means changing Reaper into a tank buster just automatically exempted him from many matches. Because there's not that many tanks, there's not really a reason to have Reaper now. He's not as effective against the squishy targets anymore because he doesn't have that instant burst healing, so he can instantly burst heal himself, then move on to the next one. He has to choose a target, kill the target, get out and away, wait to get healed, and then he can re-enter the battle. Whereas before, he could have focused down a target, killed the target, healed himself, then moved on to the next target right away. So we're moving into a meta where Reaper is going to struggle greatly. And before the update, Reaper could have thrived in this new meta. We were bringing back the dive meta. The dive meta is just coming back. Yeah, triple tank can still be quite effective, but you're seeing more prominent dive schemes and all angle flanking than triple tank at the moment. And Reaper has his niche, and his niche is kind of askew right now because he still has the kit to be taking care of these dive teams or being a part of a dive team. But he doesn't have the proper passive to be a part of the dive team or to be taking out the dive team anymore. He has a passive that allows him to be in the front line attacking frontline tanks, which isn't a place that Reaper wants to begin with anyway. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. What do you think of this? Has Reaper actually lost his identity, or am I just insane? If you think that you can help help me get a hold of the devs at Overwatch on the Overwatch team, maybe get Jeff Kaplan to watch this. Maybe we can get Reaper changed back to the way he was. I'm not going to say that this was an extremely bad change. I just do not believe that this was a good change for Reaper as the character. He has lost a major portion of his identity. I'd say he's suffering from an identity crisis right now because he's still really effective at taking out squishy targets and taking out key targets. But he just cannot do it as efficiently as he used to be able to, and he's now being told that his new role is a tank buster, which, yes, he can still do pretty well. There's better choices than Reaper for it. If you want a tank buster, I'd rather see a soldier picked than a Reaper, because a soldier can take out that tank from a range that's not going to get him instantly killed. You can take a Bastion. You need a tank buster, take Bastion. Bastion can do the job really well. Who else in this list? Tracer. You can choose Tracer. Tracer would be really good. She's got just enough mobility to where she can be in, out, harassing the tank, and eventually the tank is going to go down to the Tracer. Get a good Tracer on your team, and that Tracer will be the worst nightmare of every single tank in the game. Shoot, I'd even say you want a good tank buster. I'd choose I'd choose one of these three: Reinhardt, Roadhog, or D.Va. Because each one of them can take out tanks rather easily. Well, maybe not Roadhog since the update. So I'd just say Reinhardt or D.Va since the update. Because if you can pin an enemy tank as Reinhardt, which means you have to make sure that Orisa doesn't stop you from charging her and pinning her. So you have to time that out nicely. But if you can get a pin in as Reinhardt and then start swinging right away, so long as they didn't get a lot of damage done on you first, you will destroy the enemy tank. Reinhardt is usually my go-to when I need to destroy tanks. And we need or at least when we need a tank and we need to destroy tanks. Otherwise, I'll choose Soldier. Maybe Tracer. Pharah's really good at destroying tanks. Junkrat's good against tanks. Bastion, sometimes, maybe. Depends on the situation. If we need a healer, I'll choose Zenyatta, or Zenyatta, however you want to pronounce it. I change my pronunciation of it every time I say it. But just because his Discord orb helps everyone shred a tank. Not only that, he does enough damage to where he can shred a tank by himself after he's discorded it. If Reinhardt does not keep his shield up after he's been discorded, he is dead. If D.Va does not flee the battle and wait for that Discord orb to leave her, she is out of that mech. And then another Discord orb is instantly on her when she's out. And she dies before she hits the ground. Reaper has been set up to be a tank buster. But he's still not as effective at tank busting as most of these other characters that I have mentioned. Zenyatta's even better than him at tank busting. Symmetra is better than him at tank busting. I won't go as far as to say as Winston is, because Winston gets countered hard by anyone who knows to turn and look at him and fight him. It's as simple as that. There are very few characters that a Winston can actually do good against. But Reaper is not supposed to be primarily a tank buster. Reaper is a flanker. That's what he is. Reaper's primary goal should be take out a high value, squishy target, and get out of there. Regroup, choose a new target, and go again. Not, alright, which tank should be taken out first? Because the thing is once you start in on one tank, everyone instantly focuses on you. Why? Because you've got to be up in that tank's face, and they know that if somebody's attacking their tank at that close a range, they are easy picking. Like I said, me personally, I've had better luck killing tanks before this update than after the update. And I have had a heck of a time playing Reaper as of recent, because every time I decide to play Reaper, it's instantly, oh, they're in a death ball. Now I have to play Reaper how I would have before the update, which I get a single kill and then I die. Either that, or I choose to play Reaper and the enemy team has a full entire lineup of flankers and a Winston or a D.Va. I would consider this quote-unquote buff to Reaper actually a nerf to Reaper, because it fucks up his personality. He's no longer Reaper anymore. It's as simple as that. He is no longer Reaper anymore just by changing his passive. The change of his passive is actually, it's it actually has done more harm to Reaper than it has good. There are a lot of people who will say that their Reaper gameplay has improved since the update, but that's because they've been playing him wrong, really, if I'm going to be honest. They've just been playing him wrong. You're not supposed to be in the front line, which is where Reaper has to be now if he's going to be doing the job that he's good at. I don't know. Comment what you think below. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you're new. If you think you have a way of getting a hold of a dev so that they can watch my video, by all means, do it. Let them know what I personally think so that they can ponder upon what I have to say and think about it in depth and come to a conclusion on their own whether or not I have any value as to what I'm saying at all. Until, well, see you in the next video. Until then, have a good day. Peace out, everyone.